RAZA here for IFL TV in association with MTK Global. With me on Zoom today, Mr. Dave Coldwell. Looking very energetic, Dave, today.
Mate. Today's a little bit. It's a little bit of a quiet day today for me. Nothing seems to be happening. Got up, did a session with my little boy, and then I've just been killing time since. So it's not a lot going off today. Because you know what it is? It's because the weather's not great today. I think that's what the difference is.
We spoke, I think, about 3 weeks ago, and it was just when we started the first lockdown. We're catching up today on Saturday, and it's 2 days after they announced another 3-week lockdown. Were you expecting 3 more weeks?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Do you know what? To be fair, from when things kicked off and started going, I actually thought it could be quite considerably a long time. I know this is going to be a long time. It's going to be 6 weeks, but I think I was expecting it to be a little bit longer than 6 weeks. But I do see how there's whispers of, obviously they're trying to figure out an exit strategy, and they're making plans for an exit strategy out of lockdown. So I do think this will be the last 3 weeks, and then I think it'll be in stages to bring us out of the lockdown.
So you do think it will cease after 3 weeks, but then there'll be a slow kind of
a process to get people back into normality. Maybe certain groups first, starting with the younger generations first, and maybe more essential work that people see as essential to get back to it, just to kickstart the economy and start the ball rolling. Because obviously, the longer that we're all indoors, the more damage it's doing to the economy. So I do think they'll be looking at trying to fix that issue.
Do you think people will listen though? Because even now, there's a lot of people not listening. They're taking advantage of that one exercise.
Did you see that Westminster Bridge thing? Oh my God!
Even the police officers.
Mate, I couldn't believe it. That's just ridiculous. The people for one, but then the police officers just stood there, clapping alongside each other and watching people doing what they're doing. But yet, you can be in a big park and get moved on when you see an old person maybe just sit down to catch their breath for a minute after being up for a little walk, and they're nowhere near anybody else, and they get moved on. You've got. I think the thing is that people can be a bit frustrated about is the consistency. I think in anything in life, once you bring rules, the rules have to be consistent. And Westminster Bridge, that was just strange.
I know when we spoke before, you were talking about how you were not used to staying at home, spending so much time at home with the kids, etc., etc. You're used to it now, though.
Well, I've always made time with the kids. I'm always around the kids, so that's fine, and I'm loving that because I'm around them even more now. So I'm having a lot of good laughs, and we're having some good times. It's the not working bit for me that I have struggled with, and I'm still struggling with, because I can't wait to get back to work. I'm itching. It's all right doing your FaceTime sessions and stuff like that with the fighters, but it's not real life. It's not the same. It's not hands-on, and I'm missing that a lot. I'm missing the events. I'm missing the adrenaline of fight night. Things like that. But I'm safe. I'm healthy. My family is safe and healthy. So that's the priority. And in these times, this is what we've got to appreciate. So it's just a case of riding it out, staying disciplined, filling the days as best I can, which I'm doing a good job on, because the weekdays have been flying. Today's probably the slowest day. But that, I suppose, like I said, it's because the weather's not been great this morning. It was raining when we got up, and now it's starting to. It looks like it's starting to clear up a little bit. So perhaps go for a walk with the dog in about an hour or something like that. And it's you make the best of the situation, don't you?
I was going to say, I've never seen you do so many Instagram lives in my life.
No, do you know what? I'd never done them, and then I did 1 or 2 when we was out in Dubai for training camp. The guys are go to bed. I'm still up. and because obviously the time difference, I know that everybody back home's up and about. So I started doing a couple of Instagram lives then, but I never got people on with them. It was just, just where you see people with the messages. But on lockdown, I thought, right, okay, you know what, I'm gonna interact with the fans a little bit more, get a few people on and stuff, and it's been good. So it's something that I'll keep on doing, to be honest.
Dave, obviously, all the fans want to know when boxing's going to start. There's obviously no confirmed date. There's always guesses. It might start here, it might start then. The British board put a statement out yesterday or the day before saying that even if basically my words, even if the all clear was given, we still have to look and see whether we can resume boxing because of the nature of the sport. Because if someone has a head injury and needs to go into ICU, we don't want to put pressure on the NHS. So even if the government give the go-ahead and say, yes, start normal the activity, they will still look and see if it's actually feasible for them to actually go or continue to delay.
Yeah, I know. You see, that email came the day after this statement came out. I think I saw it on Michael Benson's Instagram page, where it said it sounded real positive. The Board of Control were looking at doing, having shows back out in June. And everyone was like, what? That was the first that I saw from it. I thought, oh, brilliant. Okay, so they're starting to think this. But in the back of your mind, you think, well, hang on a minute. The board can only go off what's being said with the government and what government guidelines are and rules are. So they're second guessing maybe. And then when you're watching the news and you're seeing still the amount of people that are going into hospital, still the amount of people that are dying, but still the amount of cases that go in there, whatever those case numbers are in the thousands, I can't see it. I generally can't see it, because that still means that this is rife and it's a serious issue. And again, there's the whole thing about the testing, and how can things move forward properly if there isn't testing? Because how do I know that although say, for instance, if they say no more gatherings over 500 people, you can start doing events or whatever, but no more than 500 people. How do I know that the 100 people that I'm going to come into contact haven't got COVID-19, just asymptomatic or whatever? Without this testing, we don't know. So when I saw that, I thought, oh, okay, but it was a little bit exciting. I was getting messages off the fighters and things like that. Oh, I've seen this, you be positive. But then, boom, the next day we get this email from the board that basically contradicted what that was. So maybe that statement came out, was taken from a snippet of a conversation, and then they saw it, how it read, and they thought, oh, hang on a minute, that's giving too much false hope for people. We need to be realistic and let everybody in the trade know what's happening. And so this email came out basically flattening you straight away and saying, it's not looking good. So I don't know. We'll see how things go. All we can do is wait. It's time, innit? You just got to be patient. Keep doing what we're doing right now. Keep sane. Keep focused. And when it's good, it's good. And then we'll start again.
Dave, I remember a few years ago on the top table, you and your good pal Chris Eubank Sr. had a conversation about he had the upper hand in the fight. I can't remember the fighter's name.
Tom Doran
against Chris Eubank Jr. And Chris Eubank Sr. was saying he has the advantage because he was a champion, etc. And that rivalry you had there. My question is, Floyd Mayweather, I don't know if you saw his Instagram about a week ago, where he put out a post of him training his nephew, I believe, and he said, he feels like he needs to give back after the passing of his uncle Roger. And he said, not all great fighters make great coaches, not all great coaches make great fighters, but I will be one of the great coaches. Would you think Floyd can go and replicate the success he had in the ring and into being a cornerman?
So for starters, let's just rewind. You've brought that up. The problem is with Eubank was I wasn't Tom Doran's trainer. I was his manager. Okay. Right, and I've taken fighters from nothing, from one fight, to become British champion and what have you. As a manager, I've taken fighters to be European champions. Well, so I've done things as a manager or as a trainer, regardless of what I did as a fighter. As a fighter, I won an area title. As a fighter, I didn't have the confidence to do anything as a fighter. My mentality was set up to fail as a fighter. As a coach and a manager, I've had good nights, I've had successes. So that's in spite of what I did. That shows you that you don't have to be a great fighter to become a good coach or a champion. Eubank's coach himself, Ronnie Davis, only won the same as me, which was an area title. That was the best that he did. There's other fighters, there's other coaches that never won anything in the professional game. You Adam Booth, Shane McGuigan's, I'm sure, Joe Gallagher. I'm just talking British here. You go on beyond British, you're talking, Freddie Roach and people like that. They didn't win world titles. It doesn't mean anything, It's without going into that whole argument again. It doesn't. It's complete separate entity. It's what you learn and what you can produce in your different role. Somebody can be a genius at maths and a dumbass at English. It's education, but it's different subjects. Floyd Mayweather, I think he's got a genius boxing brain, and he obviously has learned so much with working with great coaches, having great fights, top level fights for so long. But it's all down to, does he have the patience and dedication as a coach? When you're showing a fighter something that you expect of him to be able to pick up, and he just can't get it, have you still got the patience to keep going with that and knowing how to get it out of him without destroying him mentally, because you just haven't got the patience, you start bollocking him and start drilling him? Or has he got a personality where he needs a bollocking, or has he got a personality where he needs that arm around him? How are you going to extract and how are you going to inject the information that you're wanting to put into him to extract the talent out of him? When things start going wrong, Mayweather's career was based on being in control. The whole way through his career, apart from one or two fights, he was literally in control of nearly every minute of a round. He was that good. Obviously the Castillo fight, with the Mosley round or so, that where he got rocked and wobbled and then came back. He's not had many nights where he's losing. Where he's struggling. Can he, when he's working with a fighter that is a normal fighter, can he turn a fighter around like that who's losing a fight? Can he turn it around? We don't know, but that'll come with experience with him. But he's got all the ingredients to be a great trainer. And I was excited when I saw that statement from him. I was excited about it. I thought that's brilliant, because I think he used the fact that in this period of lockdown and isolation, it gave him time to reflect and think, and this is now what he wants to do. If that's Floyd Mayweather pressing a reset button and thinking, when we get out of this, this is what my ambition is now. And if he goes full throttle and be as dedicated as he was as a fighter, I've got every confidence in him to become a great trainer. And that is great for the sport. Because I would much rather see clips on Instagram and Twitter of Mayweather working with fighters, with senior fighters, young fighters, prospects, champions. I'd much rather see clips of him working with them, passing on his knowledge in that respect, than seeing clips of him throwing money about in a nightclub and just counting his money on the bed. That sort of stuff doesn't interest me. He's done fantastic. I'm not knocking him. He's done brilliant. I would, everybody in the world would love that financial security. But when I see videos of him just walking about with piles of money, it doesn't do anything for me. Mayweather as a fighter, as a legend, is a hero. But then when you meet him and all he does is talk, I was lucky enough to meet him backstage for 25 minutes with Tony Bellew when he did one of his after dinner speaking things. And for 25 minutes, all he spoke about was money and how much his diamonds were worth, how much this were, how much that were. Your top that you've got on there, it's worth it. That doesn't interest me. You want to see the glimpse of greatness, or what's behind the greatness of such a fantastic career. And so if I'm seeing clips of him working with these kids and with these fighters where he's passing on his vast knowledge and ability, that is what I want to see, and that is what I'm excited about.
Interesting, interesting. There's been a lot of back and forth this week between the heavyweights, champions, and contenders. We saw Wilder Fury. Fury responded. We saw Joshua come out this week. We saw Joseph Parker, Dylan White. Dylan White fired back. We even saw Pulev and White. So let's just go through these scenarios that took place this week. Firstly, let's start off with Deontay Wilder and his comments that Tyson Fury isn't a world champion in his eyes. When you heard those comments, what was your initial response?
Do you know what? I'm disappointed because I like Deontay Wilder. I really like him. He's a nice guy. He's a genuinely nice guy, and he's a fun guy as well. But he's not handling this loss well, and how he should handle it at all. That is just ridiculous, man. He got absolutely taken apart, beaten up, and completely embarrassed during that fight. You know, if you're the baddest man on the planet, and if you've got so much of a fear factor that, you know, everybody's terrified of you, you go in there and you're a monster, and somebody completely strips you naked and then spanks your backside, that's quite embarrassing for you. Now, there's a way to handle that and just say, you know what, I couldn't do shit that night. He was just brilliant. But then to come out with the suit stuff was bad. But then after all this time, you can say emotions and things like that, okay, and then you can come out and say, you know what, I've had time to reflect. I was just trying to save face, and, you know, I handled it wrong, and I came out and I blamed it. Fury did a great job, well done. But no, to come out and say that I don't see him as a world champion, I think that's bad. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for him. And it's yet again where people just trying to take away the accomplishments of Tyson Fury. The reason being is because sometimes when you don't understand something, you can't comprehend it, so you don't want to give it the credit that it deserves, because you don't want to justify it. You know, I can't understand how he did that to me. He didn't do that to me. It was because I did this and because I did that. That's what he's kind of doing, because he can't understand how Fury made it so one-sided, boxing in a manner that nobody expected to do, and completely dominated him. So he's making excuses that he shouldn't be making, and it's very disappointing, because everybody's got eyes and everybody saw what happened, and there's not one other person that, even the people that don't like Fury, there's not one other person that I've ever spoke to that said Fury's not a world champion. I don't see him as a world champion. You can't not see him as a world champion. He just stripped your belt away from you. Do you understand? So I think that's just pretty much nonsense speak, and it shows you, for me, that he's still not accepted, and he's still not taken the loss, and he's not taking it in the right way, in a good way. And when I say in the right way, if you want to come back from a loss, and if you want to come back as a better fighter, because every loss can make you a better fighter, because you look at what cost you the defeat, you look at it, and you look to improve, and look to, you know, to make adjustments, and then hopefully, you know, you learn from it. Canelo, when he got beat by Mayweather, you know, it wasn't quite as bad, but he got embarrassed. He got completely humiliated, you know, for a standing that he was at. It was totally one-sided, apart from one of the judges' scores. And then he took that. He took it in the right way. He didn't make any excuses. Learned from it. And you look at what Canelo's gone and done, and if you look at what he's actually added to his game, thanks to that loss. If Wilder's not registering and not accepting that he got beat by the better man, you can't improve. You know, he's just not going to improve. It will be a case of where if they're going to fight again, when he goes into that fight, same thing is, if he doesn't land the right hand on you, he's in trouble. You know, he's always got that right hand. He's always got that one punch power. You can't take that away from him. It doesn't just because what's happened to him on that night, it doesn't mean all of a sudden he's not a dangerous fighter and he can't beat everybody. You know, I've heard some comments where people are saying, "Oh, he was never that good. He was this," trying to diminish Tyson Fury's win and achievement. You can't do that. You can't do that, because you can't go back and erase all the videos and the footage of all the fighters that he's leveled out and dropped and destroyed. You can't do that. You can always say, apart from the right hand, he didn't really have much to his arsenal, which we've always said. That's not speaking after the event. We've always said that. You know, going into any fight with Wilder, you've always said, yeah, I'd fancy him to beat him, but he's always got that power. And going forward, he has still always got that power. But the mentality of the man now, going in, he's not going to feel invincible. You know, he's not going to, and fighters that are in front of him now of a certain level aren't going to feel that he's as scary as what he was, because that's just what happens. Mike Tyson's punching power didn't diminish his ferocity. You know, people looked at him and they were intimidated before they got in the ring with him. The minute Buster Douglas stripped him from that, he was no longer invincible. And when you're no longer invincible, people just fancy it that a little bit more. They grit the teeth that a little bit more. Even when they're getting hit and they're getting hurt, they just think, you know what, because I've seen him get beat before, I can do it. I can still dig in there. Do you know what I mean? It takes away that aura. And that aura's gone forever. You know, it's gone forever. And that's how boxing works.
Hey, when Joshua lost with Ruiz, he went back and made some changes, brought in a few different people into his team.
Yeah.
Tyson Fury, after the first fight with Wilder, he made some changes as well. Obviously, he brought in Sugar Hill and removed Ben Davison from the team. Does Wilder need to look at adjusting the team? Question one. And two, being 41 fights now Deontay Wilder's had, almost double Joshua, and his age, is it harder for a fighter to make adjustments and change style?
The best fighters, if you look through time, the best fighters that had longevity all adapted. Fighters adapt as you get older. You have to, because your body can't do things that you did when you was younger. So fighters adapt. You look at Bernard Hopkins, how his style changed. You look at a lot of fighters, how the styles change. Mayweather was a little bit more aggressive when he was lighter. Then his hands were getting bashed up, so then he became more defensive-minded and changed his style. You know, a lot of the top fighters can change and adapt. And the thing is, with that, you need to have people around you that can help you to change and adapt. I didn't like how Wilder's team basically treated Mark Breland immediately after that fight. You know, the way that they treat him. Jay, what's his face?
Jay Diaz.
Yeah, him. I didn't like how you know, they basically just pointed a finger at Breland and kicked off about Breland wanting to stop the fight, and he was looking out for him. He was trying to save him. It's not my place to say he should dump his team, but I would always take Breland over the other fella any day of the week, because Breland was looking out for him, and Breland was a good fighter, and he's knowledgeable, and he's done a lot of stuff with Wilder for years and years and years. Maybe he does need a freshen up. Maybe he needs to learn some fundamentals, which might mean that he does need somebody else bringing on board. But ultimately, if he just thinks, you know, how do we know that the people haven't been trying to teach him that? But he just thought, I just need to go in there, swing away with my right hand, and I'm going to catch you and knock you out. Maybe it's an attitude change that he needs as well. But there's nothing stopping a fighter from learning at any stage, you know, because fighters do adapt. Fighters have always adapted throughout ages and time.
What did you make of Joshua's comments when I think he did a podcast this week, and he said, they asked him, why didn't you say anything when Wilder lost? And his response
What's that?
They asked Joshua, why didn't you say anything when Deontay lost? And he said, you don't knock a man down. And he said, me and Wilder are cut from a different cloth. And he said, here's what you call it. He basically said, Deontay Wilder, what you call him is it starts with the B and ends with the H.
Okay.
But are you gutted that we couldn't see the undefeated American WBC champion, the undefeated British unified champion clash while they were both undefeated? Now, we hope that they'll still fight down the road, but is this kind of a lesson to all fighters, and especially heavyweights, that when the opportunity's there, let's just make those fights happen?
Yeah, when the problem is a lot to do with it is a little bit of greed, where a fight might be worth, I don't know, let's just say 50 million, let's just say 50 million quid, right? And somebody tells you, yeah, but if you wait another 2 fights, another year, it'll be worth 60 million. I'm just pulling out figures. I'm not saying that's what these fights are worth. I'm just pulling out figures. When you're talking about millions and millions and millions and millions, right? It comes to a point where every fighter is fighting every time they step in the ring. They're risking their life. So you've got to maximize the financial gains from every time you get in the ring. You get that 100%. But once you've got 10, 20 million in bank and you're financially comfortable, right? And unless you're an absolute Fruit Loop and an irresponsible idiot, you ain't going to go bust in your lifetime. And your kids' future is secure, right? Once you've got that kind of money, then what is the real value of an extra 10 million? If you're getting 50 million, 30 million for a fight, I'm not talking about when a kid's used to be getting, 20, 30 grand, and then he jumps up to 100 grand, 200 grand, or a guy that's on 200 grand a fight and jumps up to $1 million. I'm not talking about that, because £1 million doesn't last long these days. Tax, living expense, shit like that. Once you take your living expense up a little bit more, then bills come in bigger. You don't realize that just because you bought a nicer house, your bills go up, everything goes up, council tax, everything goes up, right? So £1 million not a great deal amount of money these days. I don't mean saying that of course it is. It is when you ain't got it. But to these guys that have £1 million, once they've paid the tax and stuff like that, it's going away. It is going away, and they've got to live the rest of their lives. Because they're retiring from boxing in their early 30s, majority of them. They've got whatever they earn, got to last them. But if you're making 10, 20 million a fight, and you're having X amount of fights of that, and this money's stacking up, and you've got all these other business interests that are piling up, and you've got all this money piling up everywhere, you're worth shitloads. When you get to that point, if somebody says to you, the fight's worth 30 million now, or you can take a gamble, could be worth 50 million, 60 million in a year, 2 years time. Fucking hell, man. You're not gonna be broke because you didn't get that extra 20 million. Take any extra 10 million. Take the fight. If it's a good fight, you get a rematch and it's worth even more. Do you know what I mean? Because if you're not invincible, so here's the thing. I understand if you think you're invincible, and you think, well, I ain't going to lose. And you think, I ain't going to lose. And you think the other guy, he's fucking invincible. He's not likely to lose. You look at who's on landscape. But you're looking at somebody like Wilder, and you look at him, you're thinking, well, he gets outboxed a lot. All right, he's got that power, but he gets outboxed, and he gets rocked. He could get beat. You look at yourself, you've been dropped before, you've been wobbled before, right? You could get beat. Because once you've been shown to not have that invincibility, it can happen again. So surely you got to look at that and think, well, you could get beat. So make the fight. Let's do the fight, and if it's a great fight, you have the rematch, and then you're making even more. But by that, the way they've done it, it's still a massive fight. It's still worth millions and millions and millions. They've both got losses on the record. But would you think about a loss on the record when they walk into the ring? You wouldn't. You'd be excited for the fight. You'd be wanting to see the fight. So it doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't really make a difference. It's just frustrating for the fans who want to see it now, who want to see it. Because now the thing is, now Wilder's got beat by Fury, so he's drawn, got beat by Fury. They're having a third match. If he goes in and gets beat by Fury again, that fight with AJ then isn't as exciting, isn't as good. It's kind of like loses its shine because Wilder's coming off of 3 fights where he's not won. So it makes it a cheaper fight. If he goes in there and he flattens Fury, then happy days as far as how that fight goes. But right now, AJ and Wilder, that's not the fight for me. Right now, it's AJ and Fury because Fury's proved he's the man. So the man's taken over Wilder. So it's Wilder's team, as far as I'm concerned, that's blown it because Wilder's never earned the money that AJ's earned. He's never earned that kind of money. And then they're offering him all this money to fight to fight AJ, and they're still turning it down, thinking that they're as big a star when they never have been. And now their man's been beat and been destroyed. His worth is plummeted massively. And if he goes and gets beat again, what's his worth in a fight against AJ?
Do you think that his thoughts were, I'll turn down Joshua, I'll go and fight Fury, who's been out of the ring 2.5 years.
100%. Took him lightly. 100%.
Increase my value, go back to the table and say, well, I beat the lineal champ, the former champion, the guy whose belts were taken away from him without in the ring. So do you think those were his thoughts, and that I'll go and fight AJ, I'll get more money?
100%. But again, so that is, again, when I'm saying it's based on finances, it's based, which I agree and I get that 100%. But even though he wasn't earning the AJ money, he was earning a lot of money. He's still earning $1 million, $2 million, whatever it is a fight, and more for his last couple maybe. Still earning good money, like serious money, right? He's not going to be skinned. So by this ego of wanting to be 50-50 and all this bullshit and all stuff like that, right? Why not just get the fight done? If you think you're going to knock your man out, you're going to knock that guy out, and if you're that confident you knock him out, right? Take the short end of the stick. Get it done. Okay, so when Bellew fought David Haye, right, there were so many things in the way of that fight coming from Haymaker, right? And Bellew took the short end of the stick. Says, okay, I'll take the short end of the stick. The rematch, we'll flip it round. Because he was confident he was going to win the first fight. He was always confident he was going to win the fight. So if you're confident you're going to win the fight, take the short end of the stick, and in the rematch, you get the king's ransom. Do you know what I mean? But this is a problem where a lot of fighters these days, it's about, obviously, I get it, finances, but when you get to a certain element, are you still fighting for money, or are you fighting for greatness? Because
let me sorry. No, carry on. Sorry.
Because there's got to be a point when you are rich, you are living a great lifestyle that's going to last you forever, and your kids is going to be happy and great. And then it's a case of your motivation: is it money, or is it to be a great? And in unification fights, in blockbuster fights like that, surely there's that element of greatness, because it's there on the table. You know, you win that fight, you're great.
Okay, so on that then, let me ask you then, because there's already been open talks and discussions that have said Fury Joshua could not land in the UK. It has to go to Saudi Arabia. There's too much money. And we're talking probably 3 times the amount. So if 40, 50 million UK and 150, and it's just too much wealth to turn down. If it was 10, 15 million, okay, you can think about it and go Wembley. But we're talking 140, 150 million. And how do we justify that? So
this is a problem, because there's 2 ways of looking at this, right? So from the fans, I'm a fan. I've got nothing to do with these fighters, so I'm speaking as a fan here, right? So as a fan, I just want to see the fight, and I want to be able to go to the fight. And the way that I see it is 2 British fighters fighting for the undisputed, unified heavyweight championship of the world. I want them guys to fight in the UK, because the British fighters, and it's the biggest fight in British boxing history. It's massive. It's huge, right? So I want to see it in Britain. But who am I to say to any man, right? Any man at all, who am I to say to him, you can get double, triple to box abroad, but I don't think you should, because I want to see this fight live and I want to be able to get to it. I can't say that, because ultimately he's putting his life at risk for my entertainment. So I've got no right to tell him, when he's getting punched in the face and in the ribs and getting big serious blows coming at his skull, who am I to tell him, no, I think you should take 2, 3 times as less, because I want to see the fight live. I want to see it live. There's let's just say it's at Wembley, 100,000 people can get in there. Boom. So for the sake of 100,000 people that will make the effort to go and watch that fight, how many percentage of them actually go up and down the country to watch other fights, right? British title level and below, or are these guys are just celebrity, like, event fans that turn up for these events, right? So should I tell you to box in this country, take less money for the people that want to see it live, that will actually buy a ticket to go and see it live, is actually only a percentage of the fraction. Because still, even though it's on the doorstep, a lot of people still won't go to the fight live. I'll just watch it on TV, right? So if you're going to watch it on TV, you might as well watch it on TV if the fight's on in Saudi and the fighter gets paid what he wants to get paid. Do you get me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, so many fans want to go and see this fight, but the percentage of the fans that want to go and see this fight that would never go to watch a local fighter who's asking for the support is massive in comparison to the percentage of fans that will actually be there, that go up and down and watch boxing, that are actual boxing fans. These are just event fans because, oh, it's Anthony Joshua. Oh, it's Tyson Fury. Do you get me?
Yeah, no, of course.
It's hard to ask them to take such a massive pay cut for a small amount of people that actually want to see the fight live and are real fight fans.
Dave, always appreciate your time. We've hit 39 minutes. This Zoom has a restriction of 40, so I'd rather not rudely get cut off or cut you off.
No
But we'll definitely catch up again. I'm sure we've got another 3 weeks of staying inside.
Yeah.
There'll be definitely some more conversation over the next couple of weeks. Dave
Okay,
Coldwell for IFL TV, thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. See you later.